episode 4 of Dragon Ball DAIMA review. A lot of this stuff was pretty much on the Easter eggs video, so I'm just going to give my thoughts on this. Like, the review is just going to be a bunch of things that I liked about the episode, because I thought this was a better episode than 3 and 2. I had one big issue with this episode, and let me just jump into the problems, because, those get clicks. There's one scene toward the end where Goku hops on his Nyoibo, or the power pole, right? And he looks out to a different town to see, like, the next town they want to travel to. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, couldn't they have just used the freaking Nyoibo to go to that different town? It was like, but it brought it to my attention. I was like, wow, I didn't notice it until he used it. And I was like, dang, you probably shouldn't have brought that on the journey, because, like, it kind of destroys, it almost makes it like a waste of time. Like, remember, because this is taking a lot from GT. Remember those early episodes of GT where Goku, Pan, and Trunks were sneaking around? Or any time in Dragon Ball Z, well, really Dragon Ball Z and up, right? When, like, these characters are hiding transformations back. And I understand, for warm-ups, it's one thing. But it's like, when you can defeat a guy, and same thing with, like, this retroactively happened with Goku and Majin Vegeta. When you can beat a guy with the stronger transformation and you choose not to use it, it just makes everything leading up to that point a freaking waste of time. Even that fight he had with Boo, like, in the anime, it was anime only, where he was just SS2 the whole time, and then he transformed to SS3. That SS2 portion wasn't even in the manga. So, yeah, it was a cool looking fight because Studio Cockpit worked on it, but it was, at the end of the day, just a waste of time. Like, stuff like that, I can see how that could piss people off. It's just like, yeah. Is it that bad? I mean, I noticed it, so yeah. But like, this is probably their first mistake of the series. I'm not saying that the show definitely isn't bad because of that, but, and then there's another thing that I wanted to bring up, the bugs, the medi bugs, the medicinal bugs. Right, the drugstore. So they basically went to a drugstore, saw all these bugs. They saw a fusion bug and the senzu bug, but it was like basically what they are, right? So the little fusion bug, right? It fuses them temporarily, like, the Metamor and Finger fusion. And I thought about that because I saw on the label it said, like, you give the 2 halves to do 2 different people, but on the label for it had 3 different icons. So I'm thinking, it's like, is it really just only 2 people who can fuse from this? Or can multiple people fuse at once? Because, they're saying one thing and then the icon saying something different. I get this. I want this to be a different kind, because they're going to end up using the fusion. Goku even, like, Goku had Glory Hole bite them. Glory Hole, I call him Glory Hole. But he had him buy them, so it's like, they're going to end up using it, right? And so, if that's the case, it'd be cool to see, like, multiple fusions, like three, like Goku, Piccolo, and Vegeta fuse, and even Glorio fuse all at once. Like, that would be freaking, different. Like, that'd just be different. Like, that's something like this. Wow. That's kind of new, and I would like to see that, or make that happen, Just a lot but this episode overall, I like that it felt like they were moving. The last 2 episodes, like, when watched, like, just in a marathon order, it kind of does feel like they're plotting. Not gonna lie, it does. Like, the last 2 episodes, honestly, even, like, from episode 1, maybe it's because, like it's almost paced the way GT was paced at the start. You start kind of fast. Well, GT started fast with episode 1, then went to space, and that it kind of dragged a bit, right? Like in the beginning portion of the space. This one starts out with, a recap, which isn't bad, and then it drags a bit, and this is really where the pace starts, not picking up, but feeling good, like it's a good pace. Like, you remember not remember, but how, like, when Dragon Ball first began, the first arc of Dragon Ball, the first 2 arcs of Dragon Ball, like Ball, they were paced really well. They took the manga, and this is why the manga, like, the anime caught up to the manga. They were adapting multiple chapters of the manga. It was paced really well, and it wasn't, like, there wasn't any really stupid filler to mess up the flow of the story, because it was paced really, really well. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what, good pacing is to me. When it doesn't bog down the story or speed it up to a point where you're missing things. Because Dragon Ball Daima loves to, just throw lore points. So I like that, though, because it gives me video ideas for the Easter eggs. But it loves to throw lore and give you the lore, and that's a good thing, explaining things to the audience. I like that. That's something that Super kind of lacked. But at the same time, just, the plotting, like them getting nowhere and nowhere fast, as in this story, it seems like you're spinning your wheels. By this point, it feels like where was Goma? I was low-key expecting to see Goma in this episode, and it's like he's been missing for the last, 2-3 episodes at this point? It's a bit weird. Another thing is they met Pansy, right? So the pawn of this quartet, like I mentioned in the freaking Easter eggs video, I said like the quartet, this is the new quartet, and you can see them on the screen. Pansy is Pan, Kaioshin could be like Giru, Glorio's Trunks, and Goku is Goku, right? Like that's the new trio. Another thing that they kind of teased was the Tamagamis, like a fight between the Tamagamis, which you know what's going to happen. It's in the theme song, like the opening, and you know what's going to eventually happen. But I wonder if, if Goku uses that, because it's going to happen. I'm just saying it right here. Right? You see it in the opening music. But then again, GT did have, clickbait opening music where they had Goku, Pan, and Trunks fighting that like demon looking thing and then just leaving the cave. So, I mean, they could be clickbaiting everyone, but I doubt it. They've been planning the series for years. So that's going to happen. A fight between the Tamagamis will happen. And then I wonder if they use that to make them grown up. Are they just going to save Dende? And then there's, tension between the demons themselves. There's a whole bunch of stuff for them to pull from before you could even turn them grown up. So it's like this series can end up being longer than, anyone ever expected. And that's not a bad thing. It's just how you fill those episodes. Like, again, like that. It's not a bad thing to like have a long series. It's just what you do with those episodes. You feel me? I think I mentioned in one of the reviews how like they'd have to have like these small incremental fights. And that's what happens in this episode. There's like small little scuffles, like random demons pop up and, give the heroes trouble and stuff. And they have to like, take him out pretty much. And that happens. No complaints about that at all, So like that's fine, Goku kind of stirs the pot with Kaioshin and Glorio when he says like, Glorio wasn't a bad fighter. He might be stronger than you. And then Kaioshin's like what, bro? Like, are you tripping? It was a really funny scene. As they're on their walk, these demons just continue to freaking, attack them. And I mentioned, I think it was the previous review, like it might be like one of the reasons is definitely Goku's ears, like, how they're not pointy. It's just that natural racism demons may have, or prejudice or whatever that they may have for non-pointy-eared people. Like, remember in Rick and Morty when they created a whole universe and or I think that was the Unity episode where it's like the nip, like you have different nipples, and then they started like a race war. I think that's kind of what's going on here. Something like that. This episode was really well done, Goku beat up a bunch of people. They had nice freaking key animation. Like a lot of this key animation reminded me of Dragon Ball Z GT, like how back in the 90s with 80s and 90s, with Dragon Ball, the first run of Dragon Ball, like the key animation. So like the like when Goku transformed into first time transforming against Frieza, it was a still image. That's key animation. So that's a still drawing. It's meant to look beautiful. That's what carried a lot of, the majority of Dragon Ball's run, because they knew these images, would strike an image in your mind. It's supposed to look beautiful. It's what manga's for, right? When Toriyama draws these epic fight scenes, they're supposed to look beautiful. You know what I'm saying? And the key animation in this episode was absolutely amazing. It was freaking top notch. And then they end the episode, they tease episode 5 with, it's titled Pansy, so it's basically, you kind of give, I like how they're just, one word episodes. Like this one was Chatty, the next one's Pansy. Goma's finally in the episode, so it took him like 3 episodes to return. And then there's a fat dude with a beard who looks like a cross between, the movie 2 villain Dr. Guido and Dr. Gero and Dr. Mew, and just fatter. And then he also looks like a different guy as well, but it's hard to put the mind on it. But then like a lot of the GT references, like with Planet Omega, them just being taxed, that was something that, I noticed heavily in this episode. Like, just the money situation, them getting their ship stolen, the crooked, basically, planet that they're on. Essentially, it's a lot of it's taken from GT, but that's pretty much the review. Stay tuned for Dragon Ball Super highest and lowest ratings sometime later. And yeah, I'll see y'all in the next one.